And here is my creative critical reflection. The title of our film is Lucid Dreams. It is a horror film about a boy with psychological issues who has bizarre lucid dreams. The opening scene takes place in the school's hallway on the day before Valentine's Day. It begins with a boy, Xavier, asking a girl, which is Valerie, to be his Valentine's. She says she does not want a Valentine at that moment. The scene cuts to Valentine's Day, and Xavier sees Valerie with Andrew. And then Xavier goes off to the bathroom. He looks at his reflection in the mirror. Then there are voices in his head telling him to go kill Andrew. And then there's a cutaway scene to him talking to a therapist. And then he begins to violently shake. And then we go off to the title sequence. Our company name would be Liminal Productions, and we chose this because it perfectly encapsulates the psychological and atmospheric qualities of lucid dreams, while also providing a starting point for future similar films if we ever were in a situation where we had to make one. Some of our influences, our main influence was The Faculty. We did a case study about that on our blog post. And most of my recommendation came from the movie The Call and Get Out. And we followed was the creation of a persuasive atmosphere of unease and dread. We achieved this through very deliberate sound design using ambient sounds, distorted whispers, and a haunting score to create a sense of psychological tension. This approach aligns with classic psychological horror films that prioritize atmosphere over jump scares. However, we also use certain genre conventions. For instance, we opted for a minimalist title sequence rather than the typically elaborate and visually aggressive titles often seen in horror films. This choice was very deliberate, reflecting the protagonist's internal isolations and the film's focus on psychological unease. Furthermore, we aim to blur the lines between dream and reality, which is a common trope in psychological horror, but in a way that creates a sense of disorientation and confusion for the audience. By not clearly defining the dream state, we aim to place the audience directly within the protagonist's fractured perception, enhancing their emotional investment. The film's themes of social isolation, mental health struggles, and the potential for violence within a school setting also reflects a contemporary approach to horror. We aim to address relevant social issues and create a narrative that resonates with the anxieties of modern audiences. The use of Valentine's Day setting, which is a traditionally romantic and lighthearted backdrop to introduce themes of betrayal and violence, directly goes against conventional uses of the holiday within film. This subversion of expectation is something we lean heavily into set in the tone of the opening scene. Overall, we aim to create a film that will both frighten and provoke thought, offering a fresh perspective on the themes of fear, isolation, and the human psyche. Talk about our target audience. Now we have 50% for females and 50% for male. We're generally unbiased for gender, but we're more biased towards age groups. So 13 to 25, that's the target audience we're generally aiming for because this age group is known for their interest in psychological thrillers and horror films that explore complex themes and push genre boundaries. They are also most active on streaming platforms and social media compared to other age groups, making them a key part to our distribution strategy. Furthermore, Lucid Dreams is made to appeal to horror fans who appreciate films that dive into the psychological aspects of fear. They are drawn to narratives that challenge conventional horror tropes and offer a more nuanced exploration of the theme. The film's emphasis on atmosphere, sound design, and character development is designed to satisfy their expectations for a sophisticated and thought provoking horror experience. Additionally, the film's setting within a school environment makes it particularly relevant to student audiences. The themes of social isolation, mental health struggles, and the potential for violence within a school setting resonates with the experiences and concerns of young people today. To reach this target audience, we would use a multi-platform distribution strategy. This would include premiering at film festivals that cater to independent and horror genre films, partnering with streaming services that specialize in horror content such as Shudder, and using social media platforms to generate buzz and engage with potential viewers. We would also focus on creating targeted marketing campaigns that highlight the film's unique themes and appeal to the specific interests of our target audience. For Here are two examples on this slide of shots we use. We use an extreme close-up, which was when we took a close-up of Xavier while he was looking at Andrew and Valerie to emphasize his emotions and foreshadow what was going to happen in the future. And we used a long shot in the opening scene to establish the scene. This photo right here on the top is an over the shoulder. This is the very last shot of the scene where Xavier is shaking violently after the therapist asked him if he had lucid dreams. This one right here is the extreme close up that foreshadowed future events that were to occur, which was right here, which is my favorite shot. Andrew getting choked out by Xavier. Some technology we use for software, we use DaVinci Resolve, Clipchamp, and Photoshop. For hardware, we use the iPhone 12 Pro Max and we use microphones that were like $2. Online, we use Audacity and we use Google Drive to upload the photos to DaVinci Resolve, Clipchamp, and Photoshop. One of the challenges arose while editing the restroom mirror scene. I wanted to create a more seamless transition from a high key, seemingly normal Valentine's Day scene to the low key, distorted reflection, visually representing the protagonist's mental shift. Initially, the cuts felt jarring, disrupting the intended sense of unease. To solve this, I experimented with subtle dissolve transitions in DaVinci Resolve. I also used their node-based color grading to gradually desaturate the image and introduce a subtle purple tint, further enhancing the sense of psychological distortion. Another major challenge was using DaVinci Resolve's very complicated color grading and fusion effects. To overcome this, I relied heavily on online tutorials and experimented extensively with different color wheels, curves, and effects. And not to mention, during the production stage, many people interrupted our filming, whether it was walking in the path of the camera or booing at us while we filmed in the main hallway. Okay, so Lucid Dreams was like a huge learning curve for my filmmaking experience. First off, I learned that pre production is super important, and I also learned how to collaborate with other people and receive constructive criticism and further better my creative choices. In the technical realm, I learned DaVinci Resolve's node-based color grading and fusion effects. which is a total game changer for me in the future. It was very intimidating, but with the help of YouTube, I was able to overcome that very huge challenge. I also learned how to tell a story with subtle cues and psychological tension, and you don't really need jump scares and a bunch of violence to build dread using atmosphere and sound design. And that's all I have